One and all, you are playing House of Lancaster wrong. At least according to the pros, because this keeps happening. We've got a Dark Age rush from Louis MT on the House of Lancaster, the Lion of the East, going up against one of Hungary's finest, Myriad in the green, playing as Shu Shi. Map, of course, going to be Sunken Lands to kick off our best of 5 here in the quarterfinals. I'm curious to see what he can do with this Spearman Rush. It's been really popular for Lancaster in the last week or two. A lot of players doing it, but I wonder how much of it is about the true damage versus just the deer shoves. Because we've been seeing a lot of Lancaster boys just have to fall back for that afterwards. It looks like a good timing against Myriad anyway. He only put 200 gold, so he doesn't have enough yet. But because you are not China, you actually open with an Imperial official. So eventually he'll be fine anyway via taxation. And likely we'll just see him maybe drop off one more gold load and leave. Would the tax gem be good enough if you leave this early? It's tricky. He's only got 2 gold there. I think he may just end up flowing maybe an extra 50, 100 food. If my calculations aren't wrong. So not great, but at the same time, if you can just do minimal to react to this play, it means that Louis MT doesn't get too much from the spin. What he does get is blocking pro scouts. However, on this map, you're going to want to lame the enemy's deer. Because one thing to keep in mind with Sunken Lands is you start with deer very close to the base, like extremely close. So it's a very easy shove in. Okay, Myriad might actually be skipping on PS. He opts for the Meditation Garden over here. Was there anything better? No, probably not. You could have possibly dropped it here for more wood. But typically when you see people prioritize food, it gives them the option of skipping pro scouts. What it comes down to is a sheep haul. And not bad. 16 sheep here compared to the 16 Louis. And that includes the fact that Louis started with an extra 4. I always leave room for farms around my TC. All right, chill. Chill, AoE 2, AoE 3, AoE 4 gamer. Yeah, in fairness, around the TC can make sense for Lancaster. Reminder, they get no perks whatsoever from their mill. As in, unique perks. You know how, for example, the English, they place farms near the mill, it's more efficient. You don't have that for Lancaster. Because who needs farms? Just build manors, lol. Which is what's going to be happening here. We do have the Lancaster Castle. So now you have to sit here and ask the question, was this worth the double spear investment to ruin the Pro Scouts timing? I think irrefutably yes. It's going to have a heavy impact on Myriad's capabilities to go into the play he wants to do. It's going to force him into a play he'd rather not. Which is either a more risky, wider play into Castle Age, where you could get raided by Demi-Lancers, or an all-in against a Civ that's going to do everything it can to just build more pseudo-outposts that give them resources. Either one doesn't sound very good. Do you have any Palace Guard for Myriad? Maybe he goes semi-fast castle with PG. I'm a bit worried about the timings for that because, like I said, what's going to happen here is Louis will get up to probably about 5 manas by then, and then you just summon the Demi-Lancers. The problem with that play is the Demi-Lancers can just kind of segregate the Palace Guard one by one, or they just go deeper than that. They go for your economy. The biggest, most important thing about the Demi-Lancer play, and why it's so obnoxiously over the top, is it forces even a full attacker to defend. And that's what makes it way too good. I think the best way I could, like, maybe you could try to apply this logic to everything, but I think this is too extreme if you think about it for a second. If you could pay 500 resources to not lose the game, wouldn't you? KP, that's like how the whole game works. You know, you build things to not lose the game or to win them. But I think the extreme to which muster the nobles stops you losing the game is the problem with this land market as heart. If it wasn't for the Demi-Lancers spawn, I think we'd see a lot more successful all-ins against Lancaster. Spear, whoa. He actually got a kill there. Oh, that's tricky for Myriad. I think what probably happened there is the spearman, he thought that the spear was probably attacking the Palace Guard, so he didn't really register that it was a villager dying. So yeah, very unfortunate loss there. We are now going to get Mirror going into Pro Scouts, but much later than I think he was maybe aiming for. His opponent already having 2 manas online. What, you don't like the manas? Whoa, whoa, whoa. You aren't a fan of Feng Shui? I think that's what we're going to start doing, is rating how people place their manas. You know, how do you guys rate this, like, on a desirability scale? Is this a neighborhood you want to live in? I mean, personally, I don't sell on this well. Like, here's the thing. I know the guy who gets his mana here is going to get a lot more garden than I am. Top of that, why have we got a mining camp in the middle of our nice little cul-de-sac? Doesn't make sense. This guy got the best seat, by the way. See, because in these days, we couldn't have toilets in these houses, but there's 20 toilets in the castle next door. Actually, no, that's a lie. There's 0 toilets in here. The White Tower is the one with 20 toilets. A mana within commuting distance? You think I work if I live in this thing? You think I work on a gold vein if I can afford a house? Peasant. It looks like we are expanding. You know, I just want to shout out everyone who comes to my channels to watch these SimCity streams. It really means the world that you support me in what is more of a niche category. Oh, wait, we're in RTS. All right, back to Myriad's side, where we'll see RTS things. Technology. Myriad is about to discover the castle age. Decent timing as well. Shaolin Monk seems very logical here. Can look to just rush out and secure them, because surely there's nothing at all that House of Lancaster could do to intercept relics right now. They're busy building more housing. Wait a second. Guys, everyone moans about manners, but do you realize that if my country's government actually was as efficient and as effective as Lancaster players are at building housing, there wouldn't be a crisis in my country. You know how expensive my mortgage is? Very expensive. I need more of you to subscribe. Imagine, in these days, you could afford a house and ponies? You've been lurking since the method RWF. Oh, that's awesome, Hybrid's Rage. Damn. Well, we got you to come out of the shadows. Welcome to the community. And look at that. We have no guards for the villages. 500 resources, guys. How hard do you think it would be for this to pay off? It's really nowhere near as hard as you'd think. King's College is coming in. They're about to get better. He'll deny some pro scouts. He'll idle some villages. And he'll still have them to do more. Such as ruin a monk's day. A poor innocent monk who wanted nothing more than to just receive his shiny trinkets. You guys ever realize that Gollum wasn't the bad guy? Just think about it. What did Gollum really want? He just wanted his trinket. Those hobbits borderline enslaved him. Be nice to Shaolin monks. They already have it hard. I mean, look at that hairline. The worst part still is if you actually kind of... Yeah, if you look really close, I think it's meant to be shadows, but it actually just looks like they've got hair at the back. So it doesn't look like they chose to be fully bald. Look at that. 8 knights. Guys, this is actually really bad for Myriad right now. Look what's coming in. If you thought these were annoying, they're actually going to become impactful. They're about to almost double their damage. They have 9 base. They're going to add in another 6 with Collar of S's. And... Oh, what a move! He walls him in! No freaking way! Louis MT. Okay, he's going to lose a worker for it, but that was sick. That was disgusting. What a play out of the Chinese prodigy. It's going to be a 2-on-1 fight here, but with the Hobelars, that means that the Lancer is going to lose. Lou just needs to stop clicking too much. His APM's too high. He kept actually moving. That was sick. So that slows down Mirai's tempo a bit, and we do have normal knights coming from Louis. So this is now a problem for Myriad. As Shushi, you do have access to the Dali horses. That's 20% increase. That means you do an extra, what, 4.8 damage compared to where you're at now. Meanwhile, Collar Vestas does an extra 6 damage. It's just not a winnable fight in equal numbers. Ah, you tend to watch while working. I think a lot of people do that. Maybe it's the slower pace. It means if you look away, you don't feel like you miss everything. Louis, remember, he's already up to 6 manas, by the way. So, he's been chilling right now. Crossbow's also getting added in behind this by both players. Myriad, if you can get the relics home, he has a really good time to go into Yuan. That's important for the Pagoda play. That's going to allow you to actually kind of mitigate the threat of manas. Manas generate 105 resources each. Pagoda allows you to generate 250 per relic. And then that gets you up to 750. Then you add in the 2 relics at 8 pop. You're pretty much at mana levels of income at that point. The difference is, for someone to do that, what sounds like an OP strategy for Shushi, they have to come out of their base, they have to gather something difficult to gain, they have to then build additional things. It sounds more complicated than looking at one screen right here, doesn't it? Anyway, there is a clash going on. The Lance account, or Knight count rather, isn't out of control yet for Louis MT. A lot of these are Demi-Lancers, but we said in this exchange against Knights, they're worth their weight. Behind that, Louis is already going for the 9 mana spam. He did go King's College, remember, which means there's also a good option for this. This is a game where Hobelars can absolutely annihilate. Hill Forts deck. Oh, sorry, Hill Training. I keep saying Forts. I've been playing too much Hob. Yeah, the Hill Training is ultra cheap. It's only 120 resources to get huge charge damage. He's going to dive. Let's take out a few of the scouts. Forces idle time here. Worker kill count is even so far, so not an extensive worker lead. It's all about that passive economy. Louis, most of what he lost on that dive was Demi-Lancers related, right? He went from 8 to 4. And it is a full hobby switch. That's kind of crazy. Is it necessity, though? It might be. Louis, he doesn't have great gold access. Okay, no, yeah, he's got the 4K now. So you could try to go like Knight Hobelar here and just overwhelm. But I think for him, it's just going to be Hobelar crossbow switch. The Collar Vesta has done what it needed to. It's a very cost-efficient tech. And here it comes. Hill Training. Look at that. All of a sudden, you're going to be producing Hobelars every 7.5 seconds. But more importantly, those measly little Hobelars that you would think are trash, that we meme on all the time. In this state, watch what happens to their damage. They aren't even castle yet. These are feudal. Boom. From 7 charge damage to 18. And it does also affect bonus damage, which means upon contact with a crossbow, you will take out practically half their HP on a single hit. Reminder, that's a harder hit than a knight. Or rather the same, yeah. As a feudal unit. When you upgrade these into vet, their initial hit does more damage than a lancer charge. So we've got some poke raid attempts by Myriad. And Louis is starting to make a bit of a farm transition here. No more manas just yet, but I think maybe there was idle time on the stone. We'll see the additionals coming in soon. Food needs to be solved for Myriad eventually, though. Like, obviously, Pro Scouts has an expiration date that he has to be cognizant of here. No Dali horses this whole time, by the way. That does actually surprise me. Good camping on the relic. Remember, Louis did build into them as well, so he's been seeking relics. Be difficult to get this one back. Not impossible. Why do people insist on these hobbits? Yo, the hobbits are effective. Are you doubting Gandalf's wisdom? And I swear, if I put on a hat and grew a long beard, you guys would believe me when I say Hobelars are actually good. But no. Like, seriously, though, they are actually quite effective in the right circumstance. The problem is, we've, in competitive play, in the last week, had, I think, 3 occasions where someone has built them with White Tower. That's where Hobelars suck. You have to play them with King's College right now. It's a limitation I don't like. I think the hill training tech we just talked about, the one that gives loads of charge damage, should be unlockable without King's College if you get Imperial Age. But yeah, this timing in Castle, if you can blob up to about 30 to 40 Hobelars, that initial charge in just kind of wipes the fight. Even against Knights, remember what we said, it's a lance charge. So you can lance them in the face for 30 plus damage and then walk away. Well, not 30, right? Because they don't get the bonus. But for such a cheap unit, you can hit them with damage mitigation about 15 and then walk away. If, however, you find crossbows, it's GG. For the Expos. Yeah, they won't survive that contact. Myriad is on the offensive here. Louis hasn't noticed yet, actually. He's a little bit distracted. We'll start to pull the villagers away, but this is one of the problems with the Hobelar scaling. You have to have the gold access. He's finally vetting them up, but now has limited capability of pumping more. Does he just go, yeah, Spear Hobelar? Full melee blanc here? Should make a lot of sense. Technically, like, nothing Myriad has would counter those 2 units. No bonus damage in the trades. Raids do continue to try and chip away, but so far Myriad has been one step ahead with that. Really needs to now that it's 7 manas. Myriad really hates that lumber camp. He's looking for any easily harvestable targets, and 2 villages will happily take. So now 7 raw eco lead. Myriad, I wondered if he was going to be greedy and go for the Yuan. I actually kind of like this fact that he's barreling still. The problem with going for Yuan Pagodas is your opponent would have reached that critical mass of Hobelar we were talking about. 40, 45. And then all of a sudden you'd be stuck in your base reacting. Instead, he's trying to set the pace. Bloomery also on the way for Louis. By the way, the hill training does affect that. Ooh, nice hit in here. Let's get a few more workers. Flash coming in the choke points. Horsemen aren't going to have to go the long way around to reach the crossbowmen. Now, one awkward thing, you kind of want to select these manas and use them on the crossbows. Meanwhile, backstab charge coming in. Big hit right there. Look at those health bars. The initial hit takes out 2, 3 crossbows. Good reaction by Mirai pulling the knights back. But he's losing the fight. This is an overwhelm. It's just cheap and budgeted against expensive and actually not as good as you'd hope. Oh my god, Myriad, the entire army just gets wiped from that. And look at Louis' count still. He's 12 villagers behind, but you wouldn't think it looking at the economy numbers. No, this is going to be the blob and go. I wouldn't even be surprised if Louis just starts switching into some yeoman and then prepping for a Shire levy timing. For now, it's just going to be melee blob. More spears, more hobbies. And what we're saying about Bloomery, by the way, like little tip with this build, Bloomery, insanely effective. The melee techs from Blacksmith, because you are increasing your damage by an extra 150%, that means on that initial contact, melee techs are worth not +1 damage, they are worth 2.5 damage. And if you're looking at the numbers, you start to realize just how ridiculous it gets. 25 on a charge, and then +22 against siege or ranged. Are the hobbies on their way to Isengard, chat? What do you think? I think they are. It's time to toss Myriad into Mount Doom. Hits the tree line. Villagers are not going to drop too quick to the short swords. But it's idle time, it's worker kills eventually, and still no reaction from Myriad because the army just doesn't exist here. Spawns out a nest of bees, but I don't know why. Oh my god! He free hit it. Charge is something else. You just can't build nested bees against Hobelars. Yeah, this is over. He's done it. Mirror's like, and I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for those goddamn hobbies. This is the thing. Everyone keeps saying they're hobbits. This is why I call them house elves. If you've seen Dobby, you know how effective the hobbies really are. In Tolkien's works, they carried a ring. In this game, they are carrying the game. New wave on the way. Louis MT this time with crossbows and spears as well. Full map control now, forfeit. Myriad, he needed a farm transition. He's got the 2,000 wood. He just doesn't have the time. This looks over. Yeah, a valiant effort by Myriad, but I think at a critical point, maybe just not respecting the defensive capabilities of those crossbows, plus the manas. The mana damage definitely adds up. Remember, when he dove this area, there was, what, I think at least 7 manas, each of them hitting for 10 damage, and that's going to be that. He calls the GG. Fear the hobby boys, because when they get a college to learn at, these thoroughly bred and educated lads are the bane of your existence.